Yo, what's up, everybody? Look, I think
I forgot
I.
about the countdown.
Oh, no countdown. Okay, sweet. Yo, guys, what's going on? So, we are officially back for episode 135 of the Think Big podcast. As you can hear, I do not have a voice. This is the most my voice has come back in the last 24 hours. Yesterday, I was completely unable to speak. Still out in Vietnam, just finished up doing something called the Haijian Loop, which has been a phenomenal experience. Dude, we actually went up to the border of China and got to see. Dude, the Chinese don't mess around with their borders. Like, I was like, are we going to see the Great Wall of China? They're like, no, better. Electric fence. And I'm like, oh, okay. They do not mess around. Like, you are not sneaking into China. But phenomenal experience. Can't wait to show everybody the updates. But it's interesting as we were doing that journey, as we were doing that travel, meeting a lot of different people from all over the world, different countries, Czech Republic, Russia, Germany, Netherlands. It's something that's interesting is in each place that everyone's coming from. Technology is advancing and fundamentally changing the way we operate. And this is something that blew my mind. So take this in as we're doing this Haijan loop where I'm talking like in the jungle, in the thick of it of Vietnam, and you're coming across little villages, little huts on the side of the mountain. I'm talking population of 20 people, population of 50 people. There is not a factory. Like everyone out there is a farmer. Everybody grows their own food. People are very sufficient tourism, the money helps stimulate their local economy. And so it's not the wealthy by any means. People aren't depressed, but there's not a lot. However, one thing that I saw in almost every single person's hand, one of these, right? A cell phone. Technology, cell phones, the internet, connectivity has fundamentally changed humanity. It's changed the way the world operates and it's changed the way we're connected. And it occurred to me that this technological revolution of cell phones has innovated everything about life. And we are now currently entering into another one of those revolutions, one of those innovations that fundamentally changes the way all humans operate. And that's the AI technological revolution, the AI evolution. I don't know what you want to call it, but if you aren't using AI and if you're not fundamentally thinking that AI is going to change the way humans operate, you're like a person looking at a cell phone come out and say that's not really going to be a big deal. It absolutely is going to be a big deal. And it's starting to impact our industry. It's impacting real estate in a way that I've seen people use to look at deals, to underwrite deals, to reach out to homeowners. I mean, you got AI having sales conversations now better than some of the best closers out there. And so we want you to be prepared. And I'm not saying this to freak anyone out. I don't want anyone worried thinking, oh my gosh, I chose an industry that I won't be able to make money in. Now, fundamentally, you will be able to win doing anything, but you want to now start to think about how can I incorporate AI so that I don't get left behind. So, Sam, what's going on, man? How are you seeing? Because you guys are starting to implement some more AI in your business, correct?
Yeah, so I'm posting on Instagram if anyone's wondering. Telling guys, by the way, I think I don't know. There's gonna be an interesting discussion to have today. I think it's gonna be there's parts of it that are gonna be us talking about what we're doing with AI in our businesses, and I want to also forward pace a little bit to what does this mean for not just our industry but every industry and business owners as a whole. And so, uh, fundamentally, I want people to understand it's like let's kind of like lay the foundation for people here. ChatGPT went public and free 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago, right? 2022,
A little
uh,
bit more than 2 years, like two and a half
2023,
years ago.
maybe somewhere around there, right? And it was an unprecedented thing, and it's all that anyone could ever talk about at that time because it was so powerful. And ever since that came out, the AI discussion really started take like becoming mainstream. And then for a year and a half to about 2 years after that, I think a lot of the discussions around AI in business were specifically AI is cool and it's fun and you play with it, but it's not necessarily very feasible in the marketplace in implementation outside of like certain industries and certain things, especially like the marketing capacity, right? Like it helps you write copy, and a lot of it's language model based. And I think we're finally at the point now where, and the last time you and I talked about AI, we talked about how I was using AI for personal and business finances, which we'll talk about later today. But I think for the first time since then, it's like it's a different ballgame. Now there's AI in almost every facet of every business, and it's becoming so much more usable that I think it's funny. It's one of those things where it's undeniable, right? It's absolutely undeniable. And I want to combat this sentiment because I've been getting the sentiment from a lot of my personal friends. And there's, you know, people who own small businesses, but they're my friends and I love them and I want to win. And they don't like AI. They don't like AI because they understand the future of what AI looks like. And it's almost like iRobot. Like if you guys have ever seen iRobot with Will Smith, if you haven't seen that movie, go watch it. If you've seen it, go watch it again, because that movie is creepily correct in like what's happening with AI, especially with the Tesla bot and all these like these cybernetic things that are happening too, and how basically we're trying to evolve and put super intelligence within a physical body. Then it's like all this stuff becomes real. And iRobot came out like 20 years ago, and it beautifully showcased what AI is going to look like and what AI in everyday life is going to look like. And so go watch that. But a lot of people don't like AI. They don't like having a discussion of AI because it almost feels like we're headed towards this dystopian, non-connected, non-human centric society that everyone is somewhat afraid of, right? And people who like value human relationships, things like everything's just going to be sterile and white and AI based, like it's going to be weirdly utopian / dystopian in a unique way. And here's the thing. All of that stuff may be true. Like it may be. It's just a matter of time. I don't know. Here's the thing. If you are on the fence about playing with AI and you don't like it because you feel this internal conflict with man, it's not human, it's not real, it's not authentic, and you want human connectivity in your business and you don't want to use AI in your business because you want your prospects, your clients, your homeowners to think they're talking to a real person. Cool. I get it. I totally understand it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you love AI or you hate it, whether you are you believe it's a utopian future with universal basic income, which we're going to talk about today, which is a very unique thing, which we've hit on before. We haven't really gone into. Whether you believe and you look forward to a utopian future with universal basic income for third world countries and this, that, and the other, because we have to reach a minimum standard of affordability for everyone in the world. And then we start taking care of other people in other countries. Whether you think that's like the thing that we should be racing towards, or you're on the other side and you're like, hey, it doesn't look utopian to me. It looks dystopian to me because it's not human. It's not beautiful. It's not organic. It's not natural. It doesn't matter. Whether you're for it or against it, it doesn't change the fact that it's here. And it doesn't change the fact that it's rapidly evolving and growing faster than basically any of us normal people can comprehend. And that's the scary part. The last time we talked about AI and usability, a lot of its actual use cases in saving you money in terms of like where I was at the time. And I just gone off like a mastermind. I just come back from a mastermind event in Dallas where like people pay 30, 40, 50, 60 grand, between 30 to 60K, depending on like their level of membership in that room. And it's all anyone asked me about was like using AI for personal finances and business finances and bookkeeping and taxes. And it's like, it's funny. Now, it's been what, 3 months, I think, maybe 3-4 months. Now it's a different ballgame. Now it's like using it for personal finances is like, that's like a basic way of using it. There's so much more to it. And so I think if you were on the fence, we have to put aside any personal affliction we have because the free marketplace doesn't give a damn whether you like it or not. And the truth is this. If you want to thrive, if you want your business to be insulated, if you want to make money and you are worried about the future, the only thing you can do right now is stack up skills, stack up cash, make your business big and have brand around it to insulate it against your competitors who are using AI. Like that is the truth. AI at its core, fundamentally, as a business owner, the lens and the perspective should be, it just gives you leverage. You've unlocked higher leverage with artificial intelligence. And that if you are not using that leverage because you don't like it or you've got some personal issue with it, cool. Just be very freaking real here. all of your competitors are going to use that leverage. And by the time you decide to do something with it, it's going to be too late because they have market share and you're out and you're too far behind. And so I look at Tesla and I look at Elon Musk, and regardless of anyone's, political afflictions with Elon, damn, we just lost Marlon. Damn. One sec, guys. Oh, nope, not in it. Not in it either. We'll stick with this. It's okay until Marlon gets back, guys. He's in Vietnam, I think, still. And so he's got connection issues because I have no idea where. He's like in the middle of nowhere right now. So I look at Elon. Elon, a lot of people didn't like Teslas for a very long time. They didn't like them because they thought they were. Yeah. Oh, there you go. They didn't like Teslas because they were like, man, I don't trust it, right? You see some videos of like a Tesla hitting like an old freaking lady who's crossing the road, and like, it's not perfect. Cool. Well, neither are we. And that's fine. The reality now, it's like, if you look at where Elon and Tesla is currently, just so you guys know, AI is fundamentally based on data. Like, that is just it. It is has the most data, is processing the most data, has reached a compound effect with deep research, and they've been insulated for years. And so everyone's like, yeah, there's electric car companies coming up all the time. Sure. And a lot of them have some self-driving capabilities. Sure. You know why they're not going to be able to touch Tesla? Because it's been compounding trillions of data points for like a decade plus in real time globally. And none of these, Toyota can't catch up to that. Mercedes can't catch up to that. Ford can't catch up to that. So even if they get started right now and start aggregating billions of data points a year minimum to feed their own deep research models, like, cool. It doesn't change the fact that Elon's at a compound effect that they just cannot catch up with unless they hit some exponential like marker in their data processing that they won't. And so the reality is that is an extreme case applied in the automotive industry. Understand that it also applies to you in your small business too, whether you're a wholesaler, a lender, a buy-in holder, you get commercial properties, you do anything, it doesn't really matter. The point of the matter is, if you wait a year, 2 years, 3 years from now to start doing it, it doesn't matter how good you are then. The simple fact is, people who are crap with AI have 3 years of data processing in front of you.
Yeah.
And like at that point, it is like next to impossible to catch up to them. The only way that you catch up is you hit some crazy compound factor or they stop. And the problem is AI is becoming better and better and better and better. And this is what happens when AI becomes better. Everything becomes cheaper. Because as we start rolling out, and we look at any marketplace, right? You look at any marketplace, like Google, for example. Google is one of the most widely used tools on earth. Like everyone effectively, if you have a freaking screen that has connection to the internet, you have access to Google, and Google's free. The bigger something gets, especially in its technological innovation and advancement, the cheaper it gets to make it more accessible to a wide audience base. Awesome. AI is getting there. And that's why what OpenAI did in 2.5 years ago, whenever it was, right? When they went free, it was such a big deal because they set a new precedent in what it looks like to compound global data all at once. And look at why they're so much ahead of so many of these other AI processing companies out there. And so enough about that. I want to talk about using AI.
You make a real quick, you make a good point. And I kind of want to, this is something, there's a lot of people right now who you feel like I already missed the AI trend because you've been hearing about it. There's this interesting thing that occurs when you've heard about something, but you haven't yet started to implement, but you've heard us talk about it. You've seen it on social media. You start to feel like I already missed it. It's already mainstream because you've now become aware, but you haven't done anything about it. So you feel like it's too late. And the interesting thing is, it really isn't mainstream adopted as far as application yet. So AI has become mainstream awareness. People are aware of it. Think Bitcoin. How many of you listening right now have become aware of Bitcoin since 2012, 2014, 2015? But if I ask you, how much cryptocurrency do you own? You might say, I own none. If I ask your family, your friends, the people around you, you might say you don't own any. And you're seeing that it's still being consolidated by a small group of people. The same thing is happening and occurring with AI. The actual implementation day to day is still very, very niche. It's very, very small, which means for you, you still today, right now, what's today's date? Wednesday, May 28th, 2025. If you start using AI right now, even the basics of Chat GPT, you have a competitive advantage. You are still an early adopter. 2.5 years of a technology coming out, you are still an early adopter. So begin to implement it right now because it's something that we started doing. And this is hopefully I'm staying up. This is something that we started doing. We're currently, or I'm currently training my AI to fully understand everything about my business. I'm training it on my entire product line. I'm training it on all of my coaching material. I'm training it on all of my testimonials. So basically, any bit of data that comes in concerning my business, whether it's a review, whether it's positive or negative, my coaching protocol, new information I'm learning, I'm taking it all in. And the use case that I'm using it for is I record, as everyone should, all of my sales conversations when I get a new prospect, when I get a new lead, when I'm talking to somebody. And whether that prospect converts or not, I will feed that transcript into ChatGPT, into my personalized personal GPT that I've created. And I will ask it, how could this conversation have been better? How could our product have been a better fit for this client? Are we the best use for them? Are we the best? And ChatGPT will actually kick back and say, you guys are a good use. This is the opportunity. This is how your product could have solved it because it already knows the entire product line as well as the conversation. And it could pick up on missed opportunities and help you start to create and craft a better approach. And so start looking at the AI as I'm looking at it personally as one of the best personal assistants money can hire. That's the way I've come to view AI. And I think people have a weird thing with it because this is one of the first technologies that is using a language model. And I think because it speaks to you so fluently, it doesn't feel like a tool, and yet it is, right? Like AI is still at the point currently where it's no more a tool than your cell phone. It's no more a tool than your laptop. It's no more a tool than the internet connection. You don't freak out about that, but you fundamentally see how your business needs to be online. You need to be adopting AI. I'm going to tell you to go out and practice and play with it and start now because it is still early. So that's one of the use cases that I'm finding extremely helpful is I'm feeding it every data point and asking it basically to almost give me feedback and give me coaching on our approach so we can better fine tune our process. All right, Sam, I didn't want to like skip over that just because I just don't want people to think it's too late to get into AI.
No, no, but if they keep waiting, it will become too late. Like realistically. And my whole thing is this: I I'm very I never I tend to have a more realistic viewpoint or a generally realistic viewpoint of what like the free marketplace does and what innovation looks like. Because like we're front running with private equity right now. Like we're doing a lot of stuff. And so a lot of where I'm at in business is all about like where people want to be at in a couple of years of starting, right? Like I think that's where we're kind of at right now with having discussions, especially larger private equity discussions. And we're starting to look out like then competitive advantages do matter. Like they matter. Like what is different about you? What is your unique differentiator if you want to play bigger games? And so my thing is this: if you were on the sidelines, it's all good. To Marlon's point, this happens with almost every big technological advancement. In the beginning, you go through an awareness stage, but the problem is there's been limitations to implementation. One, because the AIs have been fun and they've been cute to play with, but they haven't been massively implementable in business. But now what we're starting to see is we're starting to see companies that launch products where they don't actually innovate new AI, they package AI and make it usable for you. And so this is what a lot of people are going to start seeing now. We're going to start seeing the rise of what are called AI agents, right? And trust me, guys, a lot of the bigger guys, a lot of the big companies are already working on them. They have them in-house, they're training them. They kind of suck right now. Like I haven't seen one that's blown me away. I've seen some that are like impressive. And I think like, okay, awesome. 6 months from now, that thing will be like really, really powerful. But like right now, is it the end of the world? No. But AI agents are powerful. And so anytime you see, and what is an AI agent? So fundamentally, an AI agent is going to be when you can replace, let's just say, a cold caller or a lead manager or a closer or a dispo manager. Basically, anytime you have someone that needs to do usually like telemarketing communication, usually through the phone with someone else, you can actually train artificial intelligence to understand that. And so when you guys have, AI based texting through a Go high level platform, which is usually just going to be a bot, an AI bot that's texting back and forth, all we're doing now with AI agents is giving them a voice and feeding them actual vocal dialogue and tonality and pitch to understand that. And so I have a lot of friends right now who are actually doing some really impressive stuff with AI agents internally, but not for like sales processes. It's actually really unique. They're doing stuff that are specific to training your team. And so I want to start getting into like how AI can actually be meaningful and implementable right now in your business today. And I think here's like some of that right now, and then some of the stuff that you can be using 6 months from now, like what to expect, I think over the next 4 to 6 months, because I think there's a wave of new products that will be brought to the marketplace. And understand this, guys, like I want everyone to be very like, I'm very big on clarity with all of our people. You're going to see a lot of people who are going to come out and they're going to talk about developing their own AI. Or they will basically make that be the perceived effect. And they're not. Like they're fundamentally, it's not real. I would say out of 99, like 90, 80 to 90% of like my friends who are like doing some really big business stuff and who have really huge companies that are worth 9 figures plus, I would say out of everyone that I've talked to, the only people who are actually developing true AI in-house are people who are like 9 figure plus net worth. So like whenever you see like some dude who's just like constantly posting all the time in Facebook groups, this, that, and the other, and he's like, yeah, we're developing AI. Like they're usually not. They're basically just integrated with ChatGPT or another like large AI provider, and they're basically packaging it into a CRM or into an AI bot or into an agent, a sales agent, and then using a mix of different products and effectively white labeling and giving to you. And so I want you guys to be armed with that, because the problem that's going to happen, I perceive, is that because of the widespread ignorance towards AI and what AI actually looks like, people, they will like, we can tell them like, hey, have all these safeguards up when you look at vending companies for leads in marketing and sales. But it's like, because there's so much ignorance or mass ignorance around artificial intelligence, they're just going to believe in it. If there's a dude who comes out and says like, he has a company, I'm going to throw out like a generic name like Samsung.ai, and they just see the .ai and they're like, yeah, it's got to be real. It's got to be real, right? It's got to be internal AI. It's got to be, he says he's doing deep research, and like it's usually not. 99% of the time, it's all just going to be, usually it's going to be ChatGPT packaged. And so we look at a lot of CRMs right now. That's what's happening, and that's okay. I just don't want you guys falling for marketing traps, because I'm seeing a lot of people do that, and then they get hurt on the back end of it, and they're wondering like why the results aren't there. Because like true AI is freaking hard to develop. It's really hard to develop. It's really expensive. You need insane amounts of data. And so one of my really close personal friends, like a friend of both of us, but this person's been a massively impactful human being in my journey. And for the reasons I've had a lot of success, he's actually behind a lot of it as an advisor, is a guy named Robert Wensley. Robert Wensley with InvestorLift, like I know pretty intimately what's happening behind the scenes with their AI. And like he's one of the only people that I can actually look at in the real estate industry and be like, yeah, they are legitimately building artificial intelligence in-house, actually training it properly, pouring the money into it. And it ain't cheap. It is multi 7 figures of investing over and over and over and over again. And usually it's a huge loss up front to just try to get market share on the back. And so over the next 6 months, we're going to see a wave of new products come to market. And I want you guys to be discerning with one specific thing, because I care about your budgets. I care about you staying in your business. And you have to ask yourself, okay, cool, 10 grand for this AI product, 5 grand, whatever the hell the product is. Like if you can discern and be like, hey, is this like real AI that you developed in-house? Or are you just training an AI model through ChatGPT and then packaging that through a few different white labeled CRMs and delivering it to our system? And that's what I'm being charged for. Because the reality is, I want you to be in a position like that may be worth it for you. Like just hitting the easy button and paying someone 10 grand to go and do that. Cool. Like I do that a lot now, but I have a bigger budget. We've got money to spend. We've got disposable income that we need to spend because we need expenses on our P&Ls for tax purposes. If you're not in that boat, like, bootstrap things. And if you're discerning enough to understand, like, cool, all I have to do is pay down a little bit of ignorance debt and I can create the same effect myself just by getting better at using these AI models and training them myself. One, you're going to insulate your skill set a little bit better. You're going to save more money doing it. And you're going to have a lot more transparency and clarity in why what is working and what isn't. And so I think that there's going to, this mass ignorance around artificial intelligence and the vendors around it is going to cause a wave of lost money over the next 12 months, because people are going to start pulling triggers on products they have zero freaking understanding about. And then when things go wrong, because inevitably things go wrong in the world of business, you can't even troubleshoot because you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And so that is a danger point. Yeah, Daniel Kaplan's got it, like big AI wrapping wave. Yep, 100%. And so here's what we're doing right now. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything. As a wholesaler focusing on pre-foreclosures, what ways would I be able to leverage artificial intelligence? Okay, let's talk about this. So I'll talk about finances and business, personal and business, and then we can talk about how to use it in certain business types, whether you're a wholesaler or a lender currently. What are, I think, the ways that actually like are the most implementable? And so if you're looking for like, hey Sam, like what is the 9-figure business model with AI? Like this is not going to be that discussion. Like this is not going to, and that's not a discussion you're going to get on YouTube for free out of anybody, like truthfully. But if we want to talk about how to actually use AI to make our lives easier and streamline our processes in our real estate business, we'll get to that in a sec. Right now, I tested this out 3-4 months ago because we talked about this 3-4 months ago, and we were struggling with the bookkeeping side of things because we've got so much stuff going on behind the scenes. We've got so much. My corporate entity structure is a lot. It's expansive. There's a lot to track. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of money coming in from a lot of different ways. We've got deals, right? Wholesale transactions. We've got rentals. We've got marketing expenses. We've got JVs, which is a totally different other business, right? Versus like in-house direct to seller versus all of the other businesses that we have equity in. Then I have lending. Then I have all these other things that are going on. And so when we started looking at, bookkeeping, like we brought bookkeepers in-house. We paid a premium for like really good bookkeepers. And like, let's be real here, guys. They take forever. They make a ton of errors. They require tons of oversight and they kind of suck. And then, so what did I do? I went and actually just played with ChatGPT and see if ChatGPT can recreate P&Ls and like reproduce P&Ls, or produce, not reproduce, produce P&Ls that were accurate, that have been reconciled and all this stuff. And here's what's funny, guys. All you have to do, and like I should say this is not financial advice, this is just entertainment, and I'm just a random dude on a computer screen from California, and Marlon's in another country, so you should definitely not take any of this for more than entertainment. I'm going to say what I do, okay? And this is by and large what we do right now and what we're working with. And so I need to say this. My description of my process is not a prescription for you to do it the same way. Okay. My description of my process is not a prescription for you. Do with it what you will. Now, what we do is this. I hate working with bookkeepers. I hate working with CPAs. I hate it. I think they're very inefficient. I think they're largely ineffective. I think they require a lot of babysitting, and they don't help us like actually grow the business in any hugely impactful way. And when you go talk to bookkeeping companies or freaking CPA companies, and I will die on this hill, you think you're talking to an American, you think you're talking to an expert, and they have a CPA license, they have someone licensed in the firm so they can use that for marketing, but the work almost always is going to be done by someone in the Philippines. Nothing against the Philippines, love the Philippines, love the people of the Philippines. We've got dozens of Filipino people on payroll for a couple of my businesses, love them. But when you want to streamline your books, okay, and you want to be able to efficiently and effectively like reconcile and also file for taxes so you can maximize your savings, you also don't want it to take forever. And you want it to be a streamlined process that isn't a massive headache. And for anyone who's doing any level of business will tell you that bookkeeping alone is extreme, like it is a freaking pain in the butt. It absolutely is. And so when you do all this and you have security issues, when you have to give teams of people access to all of your stuff, not just your QuickBooks, but your bank accounts and all of your transactional history. And so I tracked this, guys. It was like 4 or 5 businesses for across like 2 to 3 years. on top of my personal finances for the last 2 to 3 years. I gave all of this information and permissions and view abilities to a bookkeeping team. This is a premier bookkeeping team. We pay a very hefty price for month over month. And then, and like you go see what the process is. It took them between like 3 to 4 months overall of just working on all of this stuff. It was probably about 2 months, 3 months with like follow up and reconciling and follow up and clarity and discovery and all these things to get all of it up to date and to get it perfected, to be able to give it over to a CPA, like finalized P&Ls that are accurate, true, this, that, and the other, that we feel confident in giving to a CPA to then go file our taxes. Here's what's crazy. I gave all of that same information. I didn't even have to give permission. All you do is you go download your PDF bank statements from whether it's Relay. I like Relay because Relay you can download as like multiple different outputs, right? CSV, Excel, all these PDFs even. And then I use Wells Fargo for some specific accounts. And for anyone that doesn't know this, when you go to Wells Fargo and you try to go and download your bank statements, they don't download as Excels. And when you're trying to feed data to a data entry person, you know the problem with having a PDF? They can't scrape the data from a PDF or a JPEG. It's not possible. You have to have like specialized tool to do that. And so most of them, they'll require an Excel. But what if you're with a bank that doesn't do Excel outputs? And spoiler, most of the big ones don't do Excel outputs. They're just PDFs and they look like crap. And so what would have to happen is I gave these Wells Fargo PDF statements to this physical human team, and they would spend like per PDF, like 20 minutes just going in and skimming the data, right? Skimming the numbers and like manually entering each of the transactions, right? Here's what's crazy. By the way, I did all of this with ChatGPT's $20 a month model. I gave it everything I had. All the Excel files from Relay, all the PDFs from Wells Fargo, all the other stuff that's like the through banks from Stripe, from PayPal, from all these other places where we have money coming in. And I gave all of it to ChatGPT. And I gave it rules for sorting, rules for cleaning, rules for scrubbing. So basically, like, what does that mean? When you guys are getting into the weeds of bookkeeping, you're going to see internal transfers a lot, right? When you're transferring money from account A to account B. Now, when you give it to a normal bookkeeper, they may not catch that in the beginning. You may tell them like, hey, that's internal transfer. Don't count it as income. But guess what? They always do. Why? Because they're sending it to an untrained human being who isn't seeing that. And they're just going to count. And they're just going to see total numbers. Be like, yep, that's our transfer. Money came in. It was a deposit. And then all of a sudden, you know what that happens? You know what that means? It means that your money's being double counted. And then if you're forwarding this to IRS, your revenue is going to look a lot higher than it actually is. You have all these discrepancies. And all you have to do is give an AI model all of those rules for reconciliation 1 or 2 times, like usually 1 time for it to understand it. And then you just reinforce it every time you chat with it and just be like, hey, just make sure you're using the rules that I gave you. And so I gave it all of my information, years and multiple businesses and personal, month over month over month, tons and tons and tons of data. And I gave it to ChatGPT for $20 a month, gave it all my rules for reconciliation. And remember, when I first did this, I had no idea what I was doing. So I didn't understand how to do it in a more optimal fashion. And it took long. It took probably it's like between 2 to 4 days total. Knowing everything I know now, I could go through for a year, let's say 2025. And I'm going to do this. Like we're already doing this, but if I had to do it at the end of the year, do it all at once, I would do it this way. I will go take all of my bank accounts, all the places where we process funds, from Stripe to Affirm to Klarna to Afterpay to PayPal to, our actual like Relay bank accounts for our businesses and my personal stuff. I will export all of that data, feed it to an AI model with ChatGPT, and I will basically give it the reconciliation rules. And I'm not joking. I can have all of that stuff reconciled within a day. Within a day. And then the crazy thing is it's becoming so much better. You can actually have it not only reconcile all of this stuff for you, it can also spit out a QuickBooks style P&L output for you. Okay, that's if you want to use that for $20 a month. What's crazy, QuickBooks, which is owned by Intuit, which if you guys didn't know is like a gajillion-dollar freaking company, and this is all they do for the most part is like data analytics specific to finances. Their AI is just getting better and better and better and better. So you can, as long as you're using the entire suite of products. So if you're using QuickBooks Intuit for like your bookkeeping, and then fun fact, TurboTax, oh, Marlon's gone. TurboTax is also owned by Intuit. So the entire ecosystem is being like their entire AI is being trained by like their multi-house ecosystem, their multi-product ecosystem. And so the really cool part about that is you can have all of it done in-house through those products. And here's my personal take on it. I think bookkeepers are going to be completely wiped off. Like they have no viability in the marketplace, like at all. Because you could do all of this on your own with ChatGPT outside of actually filing your taxes. I don't recommend you file the chat. I don't even think you can, but I don't recommend that, of course. But you can do all your entire bookkeeping and reconciliation process for business, for business and for your personal finances, all through ChatGPT for $20 a month. Like I know we do it. We're doing it now. And what's cool is we're split testing it against bookkeeping teams, CPA teams, and a fractional CFO. And you know what's funny? We are so much happier with doing it through ChatGPT than we are doing it through anywhere else. And we know that once Intuit's AI systems just get better and better, probably over the next 12 months, because they really kind of rolled out like their actual AI over the past, like, not even, I don't think it's been like 12 months yet, but around like the past year. My forecast is over the next 12 to 18 months of Intuit's AI being trained on its bookkeeping on the front end and through TurboTax, which is his actual, tax filing on the back end, that it's going to be unbeatable. And it will be so much easier to use that there will be no middleman claim for bookkeepers or even CPAs. Like, I stand on this. So, like, I'm going to be very real here. This is not tax advice. This is my personal take. Every time I've ever listened to any influencer on which CPA to use for taxes, I have lost money. I have lost time, money, like wanted to like throw my head against a wall because I've only been ever pushed to bad products and bad services. And what we've constantly found is that most CPA firms do, especially these big ones that have big online presences, the problem with all of them is you actually do all the front end work for them. We know this because me and my partners are like kind of pseudo split testing this and paying attention and feeding them certain information to see what they do with it, to see what the finalized output looks like, to understand what's actually happening behind the scenes. And what we're constantly finding is that they actually don't do anything. You do everything. You do all the computation, you do all the bookkeeping, all the reconciling, all the sorting, you map it out, and you basically will input it into trackers that they give you. And then those trackers are basically just web forms that pull that raw data and input it onto a IRS tax form for you. And then all they do is just sign off on it and send it. And like, don't get me wrong, that's a great business model. You're basically paying them to do jack shit, and that's okay. The difference though, TurboTax does it too. And their highest level plan with the AI that's integrated to it, it's better. And it understands the tax code through and through. Like, if you guys seen the tax code, it's huge. No human can freaking understand it. No one. No human has unless you're like Sheldon Cooper from Big Bang Theory and you have an eidetic memory, could you understand the tax code and memorize it? And trust me, if you had that guy as a CPA, like, it's not going to cost you a couple $1,000s per year for that guy to file your taxes for you, because he's going to find every little trick and every little loophole in the book to get you savings, right? And that guy wouldn't cost a few thousand. He'd cost like $1 million a year minimum. Now, TurboTax, doing really phenomenal. And if you don't want to spend the money on that, cool. Like, actually, still, in my opinion, like, TurboTax is very viable in the marketplace. Yep. Great question. So are we still using a tax lawyer? So this is throwback to like 3 or 4 months ago, where we basically brought in experts, and we brought in a really high level CPA to come in and basically help with the split test, to basically showcase, like, we brought in like a really high level bookkeeping team, a really high level CPA in like their overall firm, to basically say like, hey, we're going to go produce this on our own, be real with us. And we're paying them a consult fee to like tell us what they think of the finalized output. And every single time they were like, dude, this is perfect. Like, we would charge you like $3 to $5 grand like every few months just to come up with this same thing. And so I think here's my personal take on it. I think bookkeepers as an industry is going to be gone really, really soon, because as the innovation gets better, the tech gets better, the AI gets better, And what will happen naturally is the cost to consumer, the cost to you guys and to me is going to be, the costs are going to plummet, right? The cost will just plummet. And then because AI can do it and like it can compute all of that in real time effectively, what'll end up happening is there's no need to pay someone thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars just for them to get shit wrong. And that's constantly what's happening. And so if you're not using it for your bookkeeping yet, like I'm telling you, that is like the easiest, quickest, most accountable way for you to get your stuff done. And trust me, if you're like Sam, you know, business is young, we're not really doing a ton yet. Don't worry, still do it. It costs like $20 a month to do it through ChatGPT, just for your bookkeeping stuff. And like what's cool is if you go to the Discover tab, you can actually find people who built AI models that are specific to bookkeeping. So you can go look at the Discover tab on Chat or through OpenAI, and then find AI models that people built for real estate bookkeeping, for coaching bookkeeping, for insert whatever industry bookkeeping. And it's only getting better and better and better and better. Like literally every week, it's like just getting insanely better. It's actually kind of hard to keep up with. And so that's like on the finance side. Now, in a wholesale business, in a lending business, right off the bat, the easiest thing for you to do is not actually worry about using AI like yourself, like trying to develop it. Don't worry about developing right now. Like the skill set you need, the money that you need to actually develop AI, super high. Don't worry about it. You just need to figure out what is the most easily implementable things that I can do in my business right now. And so if you're a wholesaler, what's your entire business? Marketing and sales. So AI agents are like, should be your only focus. Now I will say this, guys, AI cold calling is illegal. So caveat. And it's like a lot of things are being regulated by the government, but you also have to understand what the government cares more about. And so like texting is being regulated by the government, sure. Cold calling is being regulated, sure. AI cold calling is also being regulated. Now, which one is the government paying more attention to, and are they trying to set a precedence with? Is it like tried and true, boring cold calling, or is it new AI cold calling that sounds human, is absolutely ripping people off, and like there's a lot of phone scams going on, this, that, and the other, and it's way more scalable? What is the bigger threat to consumer protection? You know, your $5 an hour Filipino VA do it using a 4-line dialer calling a list, or an AI model that can call 30,000 people all at the same time, as long as they have servers that can support the bandwidth? Like, what actually poses a bigger threat to society and the consumer? What is the FTC going to crack down on? And they are making precedents all about AI because they're trying to stay aboard. They're trying to stay like above board with it right now, or like they're trying to stay up to date with it, I should say. And a lot of people don't know this. The federal government, for the first time ever, is being technologically innovative. And a lot of people don't realize the FTC is actually starting to use AI itself. And for the first time in a very long time, have we had law enforcement, federal law enforcement specifically, using cutting edge technology. They're actually ahead of the times for the first time ever. And so it's setting a new precedent where for the longest time, those technological innovations and advancements, and then legislation couldn't catch up to it because they were always behind the times. But now we have law enforcement branches that are AI enabled, and they're paying attention. And a lot of it has to do with consumer protection. So these are things that you have to pay attention to. But how could you use it? Like, how do we use it? So I'm a big advocate of go high level. And like at the end of the day, I'm actually CRM agnostic. I don't care what CRM people like. I've used a ton. We've used Podio. We've used a long time ago. We used Recently. We've used Go High Level. We've used Monday. We've used Close. I love Close. Close is such an underrated CRM in real estate. We've used, what was that one? It's like REI Black Book, I think. We've used a ton of them. And so overall, I am CRM agnostic. I just care about what is the end effect and end result for you. And so right now, the reason why I really like Go High Level is because you can implement through OpenAI or through a plugin called CloseBot. You can actually have AI agents be texting and having dynamic conversations with your sellers for you. And so like, rewind 3 years ago, texting was just sending out pre-templated responses in mass blasts. And they would have trigger terms where someone would say, take me off your list. It would respond because it senses just that preset response. It sends a trigger word like take me off your list or trigger phrase. It would send a preset response that says something to the effect of, oh, so sorry, you're taken off the list. You won't receive any communication, whatever. Or it would like mark in the system, do not call. That's easy. And that's like pretty basic stuff. We're in a different ballgame where if you upload if you're held, like whoever, someone, it was, I think it was Gerald, said this. If you're doing niches, right, like pre-foreclosure, foreclosure, probates, divorces, evictions, code violations, federal tax liens, you're like really heavy on niche. And guys, that's all I do is niche data targeting. Like right now, like we killed PPC, which was interesting because I fundamentally thought we were not going to kill that for a long time. And then we recently killed direct mail too, just because the spend was too high. And all we're focusing on is very niche, unique AI-based outreach right now. And so it's like, here's the power of a wholesaler that you can unlock with, like, let's say texting. And like, I need you guys to think creatively and apply this to different platforms and to different marketing channels. But if you take a foreclosure list, okay, and you have a foreclosure bot that is trained on your state, your county, your foreclosure process, and it understands, hey, someone who gets a notice of default in the state of freaking Missouri, I don't know anything about Missouri, but let's just say Missouri. So if you go, I don't know, name a county, 1, 2, 3 county in Missouri, someone gets a notice of default, and if you plug that into your system, you can have an AI bot that you've heavily trained on what that process looks like and what they're going through. And the cool thing is this: through the texting, through the verbiage and the tonality, you can train it to have a much more empathetic, compassionate voice versus someone who's going through, like, let's say a divorce, or let's say a probate, or let's say a code violation. And so it's almost like having a differently trained specialist marketing to each unique distress type. So you can have a foreclosure bot, a probate bot, a divorce bot, a code violation bot, and all of them can be subtle and unique in their own ways, and they can be masters of their craft. And the cool thing is this: when AI bots really started becoming a thing, especially in the CRM and the texting game. And by the way, guys, you can plug them into emails too and have them email the exact same way too. It's like people, and you can now with AI agents, you can have them do this through phone calls too. Not super effective, not super perfect yet. I think within the next 12 months, they will be insane, like infinitely more powerful. We'll see. But if you do this, the cool thing is this: you now, like, for you to market to someone in foreclosure and for you to like put a virtual assistant on it, the problem with that ends up being what? That virtual assistant is limited to their, their usually restricted knowledge base on this stuff. And the problem with them is they can only have so many of these conversations at once, and they're limited by human capacity. The cool thing is that AI bot is like, theoretically, virtually infinite use case. And same thing goes with the probate bot. Same thing goes with the divorce bot. And so you should be using a lot of this as much as possible for your lead generation, or at the very least, your lead nurturing. So if you're worried about like texting regulations, cool, don't use it for lead generation. But if you've already got opt-in, you've already got consent to receive text messages, then 100%, like full send. Use it for lead nurture campaigns to basically nurture that lead until they're ready to get back on the phone with the closer. And in the perfect world, like, we're going to get there, where like the AI is going to do the calling, it's going to do the texting. You may be running inbound ads, whatever, depending on like your tolerance for government restrictions, right? This is not a discussion about that. So I'm not promoting anything in that regard. But you'll have the lead come in, you'll have AI through texting, through calling, through email, whatever, do lead nurturing, and then set an appointment either for you or, in a perfect world, for an AI agent who is a phone closer. Now, there's a lot of discussion happening around in like the sales community with whether or not AI agents are going to be viable for high ticket, prices. So can you sell a $10,000 product with an AI agent through the phone? Can you get it to, sell you a property? I don't know. Do I think we'll get there at some point? Probably. Do I think it's going to be as good as the best closers who are super, super dynamic? Not yet. But within 12 to 18 months, I think they will be so freaking good that they will beat you in the law of averages if you can feed them the lead flow. And so I want to move on from wholesalers because, that's like beating a dead horse, with the lenders, right? So if you're lending, guys, lending is all about, and like this actually goes for wholesaling and flipping and buying and holding houses. Guys, if you're doing your own underwriting right now, like, you're an idiot. I say that lovingly. I don't mean it to be like offensive, but you are just losing on speed across the board if you're doing your own underwriting. You 1,000% should be using AI to intake properties. It should be trained on how you want single family properties in certain areas to be underwritten, what things you want it to look for. Use ChatGPT's deep research tool to understand how to pull market comps for all these things. And like, it's actually insane. I was hanging out at this mastermind with this guy who owns like, God, he owns like 30 to $40 million of self-storage. Crazy. And he's only been in the game for like a few years now. Huge, huge player and huge, phenomenally effective player. And I was asking him about his underwriting because at the time, this was like 6 months ago. Yeah, like 5-6 months ago. At the time, in self-storage, because that's all I touch now in real estate is like commercial self-storage. That's like the only thing I want to buy. That takes forever to underwrite. Like one, it takes forever just for you to get your P&Ls back, or not P&Ls, to get T12s. And if like they have, and if your homeowners have or property owners have P&Ls, it takes forever for you to aggregate the data for the T12s, the P&Ls, the expense reports, the lease terms, like all of it, right? The rent rolls alone. And half the time they're going to fabricate that stuff because they don't have it, or they have it in the bookkeeping's not right. So they're going to fabricate it to fill it to make it justify whatever crappy sales price they want. And so the problem with all of this is you have this tremendous lag time. And I was tracking with a lead coming through the door, right, for self-storage. Lead comes in, the amount of time it would take just for us to get all of the paperwork that we needed to be able to like accurately underwrite it. We'd lose like freaking 2 weeks of just chasing them down, telling them to get us this information. They'd always push it off, and we knew they were fabricating half of it. And so like, that was a huge bottleneck, right? And the problem is when they give it to you in piecemeals. And like half the times it's someone taking a freaking pen, writing it down on paper, taking a photo of that paper, and then doing that for literally 100 freaking self-storage, like metal pods, units. And like you'd have to extrapolate that data, plug it into an Excel sheet, clean the data, and then maybe you can start implementing it into some form of underwriting calculator. You'd lose like a month just to be able to underwrite the freaking deal. And then what ends up happening is I ask this guy, I'm like, dude, that's our biggest bottleneck right now. Like, I feel like I need a full-time underwriter. And like, I hate doing that stuff myself. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, bro, we literally just trained freaking ChatGPT to underwrite for us. Like ChatGPT is our underwriter. And so I'm like, okay, how'd you do that? He's like, the same thing that you do with your underwriting calculators. All you do is you feed your underwriting calculators to AI, and because it can see the source coding behind everything that you feed it. And you can tell it, hey, I need you to break down and operationalize every one of these formulas and intake it. Can you do that? And it will say yes, and it can do it. It might be glitchy in the beginning, but it can do it. Trust me. And then once oh man, I need to stay on with comments. Okay. You think it's gonna be good for prospecting, but you don't think it's going to be good to close sellers in tough situations? Law of averages. I see horrible closers close deals left and right because they follow even the crappiest sales process and the crappiest, sales script, and they will still close. And trust me, the AI is going to be better than those guys. So, and that's what I'll always say. It's like, yes, is AI going to ever be able to be better than like the best person ever? Like right now, no. Handful of years, probably. But for the rest of us, does that matter? No, because if you feed it enough leads and you have enough at-bats and you have enough volume and the rest of your sales process is pretty dialed in and you can build online credibility enough. And like, so anytime there's like an issue with, the closer, the AI agent on the phone not being perfect in its pitch or tonality, right? As long as you have other factors that reinforce the credibility, you will still, in the law of averages, close deals. And that's what people forget. And so it really just is a game of spending more on marketing and getting more leads through the door. Because if you do that, it will do it and you'll still get deals and you'll still outperform your competition in the law of volume because you don't have human logistical constraints. And like, that's the thing that people don't realize. And I think a lot of that is human ego because we're like, oh, the AI is never going to be as good as me. Like maybe not right now, but you sleep, you go to work, you're kind of lazy, you don't have discipline. It's like the AI just will never freaking stop. So as long as I feed it enough, it'll always beat me. And that's what people forget. And the thing is, as you feed it more, the better it gets. And that's the other thing that people keep forgetting too. So it's infinitely learning much better than you or I ever could. And so its aptitude for growth is insanely big. And so, where was I? Yes, underwriting, 100%, guys. Like your underwriting should be done by AI. Now, should it be finally checked and spot checked by humans? Of course. Do your due diligence. Freaking of course. But why does this matter? I'll look at lenders, for example. I think lending is so funny. It's like lending is becoming so damn saturated. Everyone and their mom is a freaking EMD lender right now. Everybody. And none of them know how to organically generate leads outside of shit posting in Facebook groups and just spamming Facebook groups. And like it's just true. I'm sorry, but it's true. There's nothing unique about 99.9% of EMD or transactional lenders or gap funders or private money lenders. There's like very few unique differences like between all of them. And they all look and sound the exact freaking same because they're all posting in the same Facebook groups looking for deals. And so you're in like this pseudo red ocean right now. And all that really matters in that industry, in that micro niche, is speed to lead. And the biggest logistical constraint you will have as a lender, if you want to consistently do deals and make a lot of money, is actually lead/deal intake and underwriting. And so I always said the first hire any lender should make if they want to actually grow a lending business is a deal intake specialist or a lead intake specialist. Basically, your job as the owner of the company, as the founder or the CEO, whatever your role is like you're posting on social media saying, hey, I can fund your deal. Send me the stuff. Here's the link. Cool. And then it takes them to a web form and they fill out their stuff. Awesome. And then it comes into your CRM, and then you'd have a human being look at it, review the stuff. If they're missing certain information, it will reconvene with that person, be a liaison position, basically saying, hey, you missed this information, this information, this information. Send me all of that. Once I have it all, I can then underwrite it all, right? That's what lending looks like. And that was like usually the path to scale. And like now it's a little bit different. Now we don't actually funnel people to a web form that inputs them directly into our CRM. What do we instead do? You actually, it's exactly how I do. I'm not even focused on lending because I'm so singularly focused. If I were to like start a new business right now and like outside, and if I had to stick with real estate, probably wouldn't even do real estate. But if I had to stick with real estate, I'd probably do a lending business because it's the easiest one to get a competitive advantage in my opinion, because I think lenders suck at marketing. They suck at processes. They're just terrible. And it is what it is. Here's what I would do. I would focus on it. You post, right? And you can have a virtual assistant post for you. You don't even have to post yourself. Just have someone post as long as it's on brand and it makes sense and it gives value to the groups, like post, whatever. And then have outreach that you're constantly build up your wholesaler database, right? That's in your system. And then you're constantly nurturing leads. I actually did a video on Think Big a couple months back about like how I would actually scale lending. And so this is going to like a bolt on to that. That was like an hour-long presentation on like how I would scale lending. And it was basically treating it like a true sales and marketing company, not a lending company. And so I would use a CRM to nurture wholesaler or flipper or buy and holder leads, right? Like your borrower leads, nurture them. Because the second they have an opportunity in the pipeline, you need to be the first one that they talk to so you can basically underwrite it, get them an approval on it, and then work with them. And you want that to happen because the sooner you know about the deal, the sooner you can get your due diligence done and you have a safety net in timeline. You guys who are lenders, you guys have all seen this. People come to you and they come into the last damn minute and they want you to fund a deal in 2 days. And it's like, dude, you don't even have like half the information back yet. So you want it to be as soon as possible. So use a CRM that has AI-based texting, again, through something like CloseBot, through something like OpenAI integrated into a Go High level, to go and nurture these people, nurture these human beings. And then as soon as they have a lead or a deal that needs the funding, here's what you could do. You give them the web form, but it doesn't go directly to your CRM. It's basically a web form that fills out the information, but on the back end, you actually have AI processing and underwriting it based on the qualifications you've given it. So the first things that you're gonna ask is, what type of deal is this, right? Like, is it a single family flip? Is it a commercial? What are we going for? Whatever lending products that you have that they're applying for. And then there's going to be different underwriting tools and protocols behind the scenes with the AI and how it processes that data. And so as they're filling it out, the AI is actually underwriting it itself. And then if they don't have it, you can actually train the AI just to say like, hey, we actually need this critical information. And so I'm going to compute the rest of it. Just understand there's going to be a margin of error built in until we can get this. And as soon as you give us this information, we will then reprocess this and give you a more accurate term. Fair? Yeah, cool. Let's move on. And by the time that's done, in real time, you will have an underwritten deal that's passed at the very least like a sniff test. in whether or not this deal is even worth looking at. And then you don't need a human being doing that initial intake, because when people hire initial intake specialists, they're usually hiring like a $4 an hour data entry person from the Philippines anyways. And so that person's not going to be like the end all be all on whether or not this deal makes sense. And they're not the decision maker. They're just doing initial intake and disqualifying based on a very rudimentary set of principles or protocols. And then you can actually just have the AI do that. Like, that's the easy part. And then you know what that does with you and all the other lenders in those Facebook groups who are all competing for the same thing? It allows you to be able to get responses back, like legitimate, tangible responses back infinitely quicker than most of your competition ever could. Why? Because they have a human being underwriting it. And then they have a human being underwriting it. Usually it's them. Fun fact, 99% of the time, they don't even like want to invest in a $4, $5 an hour data entry specialist. It's going to be them when it's convenient for them. And then they're going to get back to them like, 6 hours later or the next day or 2 days later, ask them if that deal is still available. You're going to be the person who's able to give them pre-qual right off the bat. And so I could go so deeper into this with every, I struggle with keeping this general because like hard money, there's such a different avenue to go down with hard money versus longer term private money loans versus like property specific stuff there. You can go so deep with so much of this stuff and the build outs for this. All in all, you can use AI right now, implementable, actionable in your business. You can use it for your personal bookkeeping, for your business bookkeeping. I do it. It's fun. I like it. We're split testing it in a bunch of different things. Again, this is all entertainment. I'm just using it. Again, my description of myself and my protocols is not a prescription for you. Okay. But if you ever are curious about what I do and how we do it, just shoot me a DM on Instagram. And like, I'm happy to share with you what we're doing and what we're seeing. I always have to be a little bit careful with what I say online because I just like being open and candid. But from a wholesale perspective, prospecting all day, prospecting AI is implementable. It's actionable. Of course, you have to have your own risk tolerance based on whether or not you use it with certain marketing channels. That's totally up to you. That's not up to me to decide. Do I think AI agents are going to be closers? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I'm seeing them sell products already that are underneath like 1,000. Like I did a demo with one of my buddies. He runs effectively a phone sales team for a product. Their average ticket is like between $750 to $1,000. And so that's enough of a price point to try to have phone sales in. And then, but not enough margin there to really have like closers being paid and make it worth them for American closers. So they've been building out AI agents for the last 12 months, completely internal. And they work and they crush because it's a simple product. So it's also product specific. So when we say do AI agents, like AI agents aren't going to work, AI closers aren't going to work, it depends on the industry. It depends on the product you're selling. It depends on the service you're selling. If it's just, hey, here's a $750 plant sculpture, like that's it. It looks nice. Cool. Easy sell, right? But if it's something to the effect of like, hey, your home's worth $450,000. I need you to sell it to me at $225 because it's a piece of crap when you do all this work to it. And then you need to get into really advanced NEPQ or NLP or Sandler submarine or all these different sales methods that people are using. Then it becomes a little bit difficult, a little bit more difficult, right? But here's the crazy thing. The compound growth of AI is transcending most people's expectations, and it's getting better and better and better at a rate that like we can't really keep up with. And that's the crazy thing. So it's like, I may say it's 6 months out or 12 months out or 18 months out for that to be like usable for an AI agent to close deals reliably in a wholesale capacity. It could be 6 months from now. It just depends on the data that they're feeding it. And like what's crazy right now is like we are in an arms race for data to be fed to AI. Like if you guys like, there was like the arms race for weapons a long time ago. Then there was the arms race for oil and gas, like in the more recent couple decades, last few decades. And then now we're in an arms race for data to be fed to AI. And the guys who are winning it are the ones who have the most data. And here's the key, the most proprietary data. They're the ones who are carving out insanely unique competitive advantages. And they're the ones who are exponentially growing their models over and over and over and over again. And so there's a lot to talk about. Last thing, if you guys have talked about this in the past, but I always forgot and then I remembered it. So if you guys want to keep up with AI, it feels like a full-time job to keep up with AI. It's very technical and it's very overwhelming. And if you're like me and you're a visionary and you're not super techie, it's like, it becomes really difficult. I totally get it. an AI podcast that my older brother put me on. He's actually a business partner of mine. He's the smartest human being I've ever met. Like, it's funny because like I have people who meet me and they think like I'm decently smart. I'm like, dude, I am like a second grader compared to my older brother. And he is an absolute AI savant in this regard. He's the one who put me on this podcast. It's phenomenal and it's digestible for all of you business owners. It's called the AI Daily Brief. Okay, so go listen to the AI Daily Brief. Check it out. It's on Spotify. It's on all the platforms. And basically, it's a guy who keeps up with AI advancement every single day, synthesizes it down into a delivery that all of us normal people can understand in intake. And the cool thing is, after listening to it just a few times, you will start feeling so much less overwhelmed by AI implementation. And over the course of 6 months to a year, like it'll be amazing. And then the cool thing is this, when the time comes for you to actually use it in your business, if you've actually just been familiarizing yourself with how it all works behind the scenes, implementing it actionably will be so much easier for you. So your speed to execution will be insane. So that is it. If you guys have any other questions, shoot me a DM on Instagram. I appreciate you guys. Y'all are amazing. And if you guys like AI discussions and like more tactical stuff, again, we're on free YouTube here. So like I don't go as deep in curating a lot of these conversations because it's just like kind of fireside chats. Stay tuned. We're going to do some really cool stuff with really showing a lot of how we're making a lot of money with AI. So that'll be down the road. All right. Peace, guys.